SpaceX pulled off the largest IPO in Wall Street history, $75 billion. Elon Musk became the world's first trillionaire on paper. Times Square erupted. NASDAQ rang the bell. Retail investors scrambled for a piece. But here's what CNBC didn't tell you. While Wall Street celebrated, Beijing was studying. Not the stock price, not the valuation. They were studying what Starlink, SpaceX's satellite internet division, just proved on a real battlefield. And what they learned terrifies them, because the satellite war has already begun. This is World Decoded with Sam. Today, the space race as a military chess match, and why the CCP is playing to win. To understand why SpaceX matters geopolitically, rewind to 2001. A baby-faced American entrepreneur flies to Moscow. He wants to buy 3 decommissioned Soviet ICBMs, retrofitted as rockets, to send a greenhouse to Mars. His name, Elon Musk. The Russians serve him vodka, lots of vodka, then they quote him $8 million per rocket. Musk counters, 3 rockets, $20 million total. The Russians laugh. One reportedly sneers, "You don't have the money, don't waste our time." Musk walks out, heads straight to the airport, boards a plane. At 30,000 feet, he makes a decision. If they won't sell me rockets, I'll build my own. 20 years later, the man they mocked owns SpaceX, a company valued at $1.77 trillion, conducting more launches than any country on Earth. But this isn't about Musk's revenge on Moscow. It's about what SpaceX built. Starlink, a constellation of over 10,300 satellites delivering global internet, and, as the CCP now knows, military-grade battlefield dominance. In February 2022, Russia invaded Ukraine. Within days, Starlink terminals were on the front lines. Ukrainian troops used them to coordinate drone strikes, relay intelligence, and maintain communications, even after Russia destroyed their traditional infrastructure. Here's the number that matters. Starlink collapsed the sensor-to-shooter loop, the time between spotting a target and firing at it. Drones guided by Starlink became precision weapons for a fraction of the cost of conventional systems. Russia tried to jam it, hack it, failed repeatedly. SpaceX later enforced stricter controls, cutting off Russian troops illegally using Starlink in occupied Ukraine. Russian officials admitted this disrupted planned strikes and created a frontline communications crisis. Ukraine then launched a counteroffensive and recaptured 10 to 12 kilometers of territory on the southern front. A private American company's satellite network altered the outcome of a land war in Europe. Now, put yourself in the CCP's shoes. Their military planners were shocked. That's not my assessment. That's from MERIX, the European China Research Institute. The People's Liberation Army, the PLA, had not anticipated how decisively a commercial low Earth orbit, LEO constellation could reshape the battlefield. And they've spent the last 2 years scrambling to respond. Let's be clear, the CCP is losing the satellite race. Starlink has 10,300 plus satellites in orbit. The CCP's 2 main programs, Guowang and Qianfan, have fewer than 300 combined. That's less than 3% of Starlink's constellation. There's also a hard deadline. Under ITU rules, both CCP programs must get 10% of their planned satellites into orbit by the end of this year, or lose their spectrum rights. To hit that target, they'd need to launch 2,600 plus satellites in 1 year. Last year, they launched 180. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. But here's what makes the CCP dangerous. They don't need to win the race to cause damage, because while they're falling behind on satellites, they're investing heavily in destroying yours. PLA researchers have proposed layered electronic warfare to jam Starlink terminals on the battlefield, cyber intrusions to penetrate Starlink's ground architecture, laser-equipped submarines with retractable masts to target LEO satellites, orbital chemical weapons, small satellites releasing corrosive chemicals to degrade Starlink's solar panels mid-orbit. One PLA researcher was explicit. Kinetic attacks on satellites are too escalatory. The preferred approach? Layered denial, jamming, hacking, terminal geolocation, and ground infrastructure disruption. Disrupt the service. You don't have to blow up the satellite. Rand's conclusion: the PLA views Starlink not just as a competitor, but as a target, and they're using Starlink as the blueprint for what they want to build and what they want to take down. Now, here's the part that doesn't get enough attention. The CCP's satellite ambitions are not just about catching up to Starlink commercially. They're about building a global surveillance infrastructure, and they're making alarming progress. The U.S. intelligence community assessed last year that the CCP has already achieved global coverage in some of its intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance (ISR) satellite constellations. Read that again. Global coverage, ISR, already. When you pair that with AI processing tools and global data distribution networks, the CCP will have the ability to track naval vessels, troop movements, and aircraft anywhere on the planet in near real time. This isn't a business strategy. This is a military capability dressed up as a broadband project. The Merrick's report puts it plainly. The CCP has a strategic vision for space internet driven by acute national security concerns. Satellite internet is dual use, civilian and military. The same infrastructure that provides broadband to users in Africa or Central Asia also serves the PLA's intelligence architecture. And the CCP has explicitly ordered its researchers to coordinate with, quote, socialist-friendly nations to limit Starlink's global reach. That's not a commercial strategy, that's a geopolitical operation. Now, let's bring this back to the IPO. Starlink generated $11.39 billion in revenue last year, 61% of SpaceX's total sales. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citigroup, 5 of the most powerful banks on Earth, underwrote this offering. They priced the future of American space dominance at $1.77 trillion. But Musk specifically barred CCP and Hong Kong Capital from participating in the IPO. That's not an accident. That's a statement. And the CCP heard it loud and clear. Here's the bottom line. The SpaceX IPO wasn't just a Wall Street event. It was a strategic inflection point in the competition for space dominance. Starlink already changed the land war in Europe. The PLA knows this. They've read every debrief. They've published their countermeasures. They're building their own constellation, slowly. And they're building weapons to destroy ours. But there's more. SpaceX's Starship program, the world's most powerful rocket, isn't just about Mars. It's about rapid, reusable, and cost-effective satellite deployment. While the CCP struggles to launch 200 satellites a year, SpaceX can deploy hundreds in a single Starship mission. And then there's Starshield, SpaceX's classified military satellite network, developed in partnership with the U.S. Department of Defense. Starshield satellites are hardened against jamming and cyber attacks, and they're designed for secure military communications. The CCP is watching, and they're not just taking notes, they're taking action. Earlier this year, the CCP tested a new anti-satellite missile capable of reaching LEO. They've also accelerated their hypersonic glide vehicle program, which could be used to target satellites in orbit. The message is clear. The CCP will not allow the U.S. to dominate space. First, the satellite war is already here. It's not just about internet access or GPS navigation. It's about who controls the ultimate high ground, space. Second, the CCP's strategy is two-pronged. Build their own constellation, slowly but steadily. Disrupt, degrade, or destroy Starlink and other Western satellite networks. Third, this isn't just a military issue. Satellite internet is critical infrastructure for the global economy. From financial transactions to supply chain logistics, modern life depends on uninterrupted satellite connectivity. If the CCP succeeds in disrupting Starlink, the consequences could be catastrophic. And finally, this is a race the U.S. cannot afford to lose. SpaceX's success has given America a temporary lead in the space race, but the CCP is playing the long game. They're investing billions in their satellite programs. They're developing new weapons to counter Starlink, and they're forging alliances with other authoritarian regimes to limit Western space dominance. The question is, will the U.S. and its allies wake up in time? In 2001, Elon Musk got laughed out of Moscow. The Russians thought he was a joke. Today, his satellites helped Ukraine recapture territory from Russia. His rockets dominate global launch capacity, and his company raised more money in a single day than the GDP of most countries. But the fight is far from over, because the CCP watched all of this very carefully, and they are not laughing. The satellite war is no longer science fiction. It's here, and the stakes are global security and economic stability. If we don't act, the future could be decided by someone else. So stay tuned, because this war has only just begun.